First time since 1992, and England have taken the final step to a prize that they have coveted for so long but have never got their hands on. The England women did win a World Cup at Lord's, and now it's the turn of England men who will take on New Zealand in the final on Sunday after they beat arch rivals Australia by 8 wickets in the second semi-final in Edgbaston on Thursday. It was a routing performance, Aditya, really, from England, looking a totally different side that they were in the first half of the tournament, perhaps cowering under pressure and expectations, those losses against Sri Lanka and Australia. This was an England side that wanted to make a point. This was an England side that we have come to know and expect, and this was an England side that stopped Australia's record of never having lost a semi-final. Their pacers set the tone, got those early wickets. Australia's game is based on those top order batsmen scoring runs, and for the second semi-final running, those early wickets making all the difference.
I would also like to add, this is the England that has been on a juggernaut for the last 1.5 years. The transformation that started after 2015 World Cup, it's very fitting that it comes to a finale like this. Like you said, I think the tone was set by Jofra Archer, Chris Woakes, and like you said, I mean, every time David Warner, Aaron Finch gives you those start, that makes a difference. It wasn't to be today. Finch going early, Warner beginning the match with that crisp cover drive, never really getting. But I think that was just the first run score, and then it was just one-way traffic from there.
And I think the big difference, if you see when the two sides met at Lord's in the group stage, they bowled the same lengths. Jofra Archer and Chris Woakes hit the same lengths, back of length, attacking the batsmen into their bodies. The difference was conditions were different at Lord's that day. You needed to bowl a lot fuller and make the batsmen play. Today, they just tied up the Australian batsmen. Only Steve Smith, who's so tremendous in the middle order, so much experience, he could play an innings of attrition, got that half century, which propelled Australia to a decent score, but it was not going to be enough. They kept losing regular wickets. I think the bigger loss in the middle overs was Alex Carey. He was hit a few times, had those stitches. It was difficult for him to carry on. He did, but I think that was a huge loss, that he could not get a free fluent score. And how big was that loss of Usman Khawaja? Because the one day Australia have throughout the tournament struggled to find a decent batting spot for Khawaja, and the one day they need him at 10 for 2, he's not there.
He's not there, and you put in somebody like Peter Handscomb there, against the moving ball, Archer, Wood, there's Woakes, making the ball talk. I mean, always going to be difficult. Finch mentioned that, how he's repeatedly backed Handscomb and he was expecting him to come good. But then again, like the case was during the India-New Zealand game, Australia were 14 for 3 and from there never really recovered. Steve Smith, again, just the twinkle-toed genius that he is. He's not the best of batsmen to watch, but I think when it comes to effectiveness, that there's no one better than him. Probably his knock was the kind that probably India, you can say, missed having in that match against New Zealand. Also, one point I'd like to mention, like you mentioned, Alex Carey. I think he's been the find of this tournament. The way he's batted, and it was very difficult to watch the moment that ball, pinned him on his helmet. Just to carry on, and just kind of shows that the dependence probably Australia had on somebody like the presence of Usman Khawaja at the top. He wasn't there. Tough luck, but yeah, Carey was pretty courageous out there.
And you talk about a complete bowling performance. I think this was a complete English bowling performance. You had Archer, you had Woakes, you had Wood, Adil Rashid. I think he had the best outing for England in this tournament, picking up those 2 wickets in those middle overs, really not allowing Australia any breathing room. This is what a leg spinner really does in ODI cricket, just attacks and breaks the opposition. So below par score for Australia, 240 was enough for New Zealand because that was a completely different pitch, very tough, very slow. This one, maybe 280 would have been challenging, maybe 280, 290, but 220 odd with England was never going to be challenging. You know why? Again, a different factor from those league matches that England lost. Jason Roy. He was absent then, he was present today, gave them an attacking start. Bairstow in free-flowing form as well. And once they got going, that 6 Then one of those sixes landed in the fourth tier, one of the tallest sixes I have ever seen live. It was carnage out there. It was demolition derby, and the crowd at Edgbaston, ever boisterous, was really enjoying. And after that start from Roy and Bairstow, there was no coming back.
Another 100 partnerships, a 124 without the loss of wicket. And like you mentioned, Australia would have probably fancied their chances had they gone to score on 280, 290. But they finished it with almost 18 overs left. So you never really know with the kind of batting Bairstow and Roy have put out, time after time. I mean, this England opening partnership has probably got to be right up there with the best. You have Aaron Finch, David Warner, you have Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan. But I think in terms of effectiveness and the kind of impact the top two have had, I think Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow simply stand out. India, obviously, Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan, like I mentioned, they have this tendency of playing out the 10 overs, but these two people just do not stop. I mean, his drives are more like a right-hand hook more than a cover drive. I mean, it was fabulous. I mean, as post journalists, we try to remain unbiased, but when you see Jason Roy bat the way he did, I mean, you can't help but want him and his side to succeed.
Well, there you have it. New Zealand would have been watching this match with intrigue. They attacked India's top order. Perhaps they'll like to attack England's top order as well. We'll talk about it more in the build-up to what is the only game remaining in this 2019 Cricket World Cup, and that's the final on Sunday. And here's a nugget before we leave you. For the first time since 1992, it's not only England who are coming and vouching for their first world title. For the first time since 1992, there'll be two sides in the ODI World Cup final who have never won this trophy before. It'll be a first-time champion on Sunday. It'll be a priceless final.